work and everyone's talking about the football game. I guarantee you can get a conversation going here with some of these stories.
Yeah, come on.
I guarantee you if you could get rid of some of your meekness and shyness, started out funny, started out with a little bit of a joke, start breaking into the conversation, and then just when you got them, give it to them with Jesus. And they're like, whoa, you got religious on me? And it's like, you got to watch out for me. I'm one of them. Right? I'm one of them. Oh, we got stories about Joseph and Moses, the Passover, the manna and the rock. All of these things that we read about in the Bible are types and shadows and patterns and blueprints and neat little stories that are filled with so much truth. Joseph is like Christ. Moses is like Christ. The Passover is like Christ. The manna is like Christ. And the rock is life through the Spirit. Let's take a look at some of this stuff. We find Moses, backside of the desert, taking care of father-in-law's sheep, comes across a burning bush. There's nothing unusual about a burning bush in the desert. Deserts are dry. Deserts are hot. Things start on fire when it's dry and hot. I guarantee you he'd seen bushes burn before.
Sure.
The only difference was this bush was not consumed. It just burned and burned and burned. And he walked over to it, and the bush said, "You better take your shoes off if you want to come any closer." At this point, Moses is thinking, I need to get a hat. I need to buy something to cover the top of my head out here in the sun. You know it scared him. That's a startling experience. Out there in the desert, father-in-law's sheep, and now he has to decide, do I talk to it? Or do I turn and walk? I can't tell my wife. I can't tell anybody about this. And the bush says, oh, you got to tell everybody about this. I can't tell anybody about this. Because the bush says, I'm going to reveal something to you. And he's like, ooh, what's that? And the bush says, I am that I am. Now you go tell Pharaoh. Not Pharaoh. He's the guy I don't want to see. He's the person on the job that gives me a hard time. He wants to kill me. Yeah. I goofed up a couple years ago, and I don't know that I can go back there. But the bush says, I'm giving you a revelation. And it's your responsibility to talk like the bush. To share what the bush said. To give out to everybody you meet the wisdom from the burning bush. We have a revelation of the name of God that has been revealed to us as God is planning deliverance. When Jesus came to this earth, his name shall be called Jesus, for he will save his people from their sin. And I've taken upon me the name Jesus Christ. In my life, I've been baptized in his name, and I have had an experience probably greater than this.
Oh, yes.
And you know what the bush said to me? You got to tell someone. You got to tell someone. You can't keep this to yourself. It's like, they'll think I'm nuts. And the bush said, they're right. You're crazy. You're peculiar. You're not like the rest. You're leaning a little to the right. But that's okay. I'd rather be crazy for Christ than a fool for this world. And so we tell the revelation. We share what we've got. And you know the story. He went and told Moses. And God started to act out salvation. Dramatically, God says, okay, if you want to hear about me, I'm going to destroy everything in the land. If you want to live for me, I've got to get rid of everything in your life that does not agree with my ways. Oh, as a young Christian, things started to drop away from me. Like, I can't have that. I can't have that. How about that? I'm going to give you the revelation here. Adam and Eve were naked. They put on their leaves. They stood in front of God feeling a little green. And you know what God did? He stripped them. Probably never thought of that. He stripped them. He says, I got to strip you before I can clothe you. And it's like, this is really embarrassing, God. You know, that's why Pentecostal churches have altars. It's a little embarrassing. It strips you. It's hard. It's confession. But you know, God, where did he go? Bring him back, Lord. Oh, we're going the wrong direction. You know, maybe I'm supposed to teach on that again. God began to bring judgment. One after another after another. The 10 plagues shadowed judgment on sin. And then God said to his people, I want you to kill a lamb. It's like, okay, I get this. We've already had the story about the lamb. Move on, Brother Berglund, move on. But he says, now I want you to take that blood, and I want to have you put it over the lintel and the doorpost of your heart, your house, your heart. There's a Freudian slip. We know that it's in the shape of a cross. But more than that, that house was covered with the blood. The death of the lamb, the covering of the blood, the Passover is so much Calvary.
Yes.
I can't believe if you have a Jewish friend, you've never shared this. I had a Jewish friend years ago back in Minnesota. Met this family blowing snow. You can't do this type of a ministry here, but we used to have a ministry where it would snow. We would load a snowblower in the back of our truck, and we'd drive around town looking for driveways. And if we found a driveway that had snow, we'd take it out and blow the driveway, knock on the door and say, the driveway's clean, and we'd invite them to church. If we did that to a family, the woman was Jewish. She's like, I don't go to church, I'm Jewish. It's like, wonderful! Can I teach you the Bible? She goes, no. I said, can I teach you the Old Testament? Yeah. After that woman got saved, we celebrated Passover with that family. Such meaning, so much value in all of the symbolism of the Passover, and to be able to relate to that. This points to Christ. This points to the salvation that you've received. So many things, so many things. They crossed the Red Sea. And of course, we've got it figured out. If the water in Noah is baptism, this has got to be baptism. The Red Sea shadows baptism. Moreover, brethren, I would not that you should be ignorant, how that all of our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea. And all were baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea. And they all did eat that same spiritual meat. All of these are types and shadows. And they drank of the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. All of the symbolism, everything that they went through as they traveled through the desert, as they came to the temptations, as the sea opened for them and they went through the water, all of these things are typical of what we experience in the new birth. Yeah. They received the law at Mount Sinai. This is a shadow of the Holy Ghost at Pentecost. Let me tell you how accurate this shadow is. The day of Pentecost celebrates the anniversary of the giving of the law. Right. And so when the law was given at Mount Sinai on tables of stone, on the day of Pentecost, the law was written in the heart on tables of flesh. And just as there was thunderings and lightnings and God came down in power, there was a sound of a rushing mighty wind. And as the lightnings and the flashing was on the mountain, upon each of them appeared cloven tongues of fire. And what we have here is Mount Sinai in the upper room. Amen. One is a shadow, the other is the reality. Tell me, you that desire to be under the law, don't you hear the law? For it is written, Abraham had 2 sons, the one by the bondmaid, the other by a free woman. But he who